Good evening. Call this meeting to order on this beautiful Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 at 6:09. First item, roll call.
Joe Bennett present.
Joel García present.
Javier Ramírez present.
Alexander Flores present.
Hablando la gente no present.
Okay, thank you. We got a full quorum. Next item, number 3, invocation and pledge of allegiance. Anybody want to lead us in the second invocation? All right, okay. We're in our head. And today's verse is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. And it says, "My son, do not forget my teachings, but keep my commandments in your heart, for they will prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity." So we ask, dear Lord, that we are all your children, dear Lord, that you help us keep peace amongst terrible times, dear Lord, and live in your grace and happiness, God, through the good times as well. All these things I ask in your precious and heavenly name. Amen. That flag is over here. Okay, thank you, Mr. Neal. Before we do our pledge, we want to give a little moment of silence for a former longtime judge of our community, Mr. Ismael Ochoa and his family. That's really sweet. All right. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, thank you. Item number 4, certified posting of agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members, the agenda was duly posted as required by state law within 2 hours prior to the start of the meeting.
Thank you. No public comments, I believe. Is that correct?
No, there was none.
All right, thank you. Item number 6, we're going to go ahead and postpone this item, recognition of a Texas Citrus Fiesta 84th Queen Citriana, Ms. Kaylee Ann Silva, for a later date. She's out of town?
Right.
All right. Next, item number 7, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Castillo, I'll take Mr. Perez, Commissioner Perez, questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And for the record, item 7A is discussion and possible action on approval of minutes. The regular meeting held on October 20th and the special meeting held on December 22nd, the regular meeting on January 5th of 2021, and the regular meeting held January 19th, 2021. Right. For the record. Item 8G. Discussion and possible action to enter into an agreement for subscription to TextMyGov web-based software. Staffed by Ms. Beal.
America, we have representatives from TechSmart who are going to be joining us here virtually. Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, hear me? Staff has been, over the last year or so, we've looked at ways for efficiency systems that can, we know that we're overwhelmed, we know we're short-staffed, we get a lot of phone calls, we get a lot of complaints, work orders, stray dogs, illegal dumping, tires, things like that. So in an effort to make things efficient here, staff has looked at different options, and TextMyGov is a service that can actually create a phone system, an automated system, where somebody sends the text to a special unique number dedicated to Palmview that says, I want to report a dead animal on the road. Just by certain words, it automatically knows and creates, oh, where is the address located? Oh, let me do this. And it goes back and forth, alleviating the need for a phone call, taking up time, and then tying up the phone line, generating potentially a work order that will be dispatched to the proper personnel or go to the right person. They get it on their phone, they go, they address the issue, they close the ticket. That's just an example of some of the many things they can do. We have the representative. Can you hear me, Ms. Nancy? Hello, Ms. Nancy, can you hear us? We have the representative online who's giving us a short presentation, or can actually take it a step further. I don't know how good you guys can see the screens here. Ms. Nancy, can you hear us?
Yeah, can everyone hear me okay as well?
Is that the volume? Is that the maximum volume? Can you try that again, Ms. Nancy?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Can you say that one more time?
No, we were just testing the volume, but it looks like you do sound better. I think we have a clear audio. The visual we're going to try to work with it, but if you want to get started, we can keep it a short presentation for the benefit of the council.
Okay, sounds good. And if you did also get a chance to look at that slide deck that I sent over, that does also have some screenshots of the presentation that we're about to go over here. So feel free to also look at those at any time. So I'll keep this pretty brief for you here, but can you also see where it says guest dashboard?
Yes, we can see it on the screen.
Okay, sounds good. Well, so our main goal here with TextMyGov is we really have three main functions that we're able to bring to the table with our program. And that, like Arnold had mentioned, it makes it easier for citizens to find answers to their questions, report issues, as well as receive alerts for things that are happening locally. So I'll be going over those three main things with you as well. And I did also take the time to create some examples specifically tied to Palmview. So what I'll do first is I wanted to have you just do a quick test so that you can kind of see what the program looks like from the citizen's point of view. So I'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. But if everybody can see this phone number that I'm highlighting here with my cursor, if you want to go ahead and text hi to that number, and then you should also be receiving a response once you send that over as well. So I'll go ahead and give you all just a minute or two just to get that in there. And if you can't see that number clearly, the number is going to be 435-265-4446.
I think we have a few that are trying it.
Yes, I got a response already.
They're getting responses.
Okay. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to zoom back out here so we can kind of see everything as a whole. So the way that our program works is anytime it receives a text message, it searches that message from left to right to try to find specific information depending on what the citizen might be looking for. And while we're on this main guest dashboard, I just want to mention that this is also basically your catch-all. So this is where I can see, you know, these text messages coming in, who they're from, what time it was. So you're also able to track any of those text messages coming in at any time. So like I said, our program is looking for specific keywords. So when I go into the back end, these are the words that it's looking for. So if a citizen were to text in asking about the agenda for the council meeting, for example, our program will then automatically respond with a link to where they can find that on your city website. Or if they're asking about, you know, contact information, how do I pay my bill, things like that. And as far as how easy it is to create one of these, I can simply just hit add new, and then I'll just put in what trigger word I want, you know, to give a specific response, as well as what answer I want to get kicked back to them. And then once I hit add, that's now part of the program. So because I know that we're short on time, I went ahead and just made a couple examples that you can use today. So those are here. Let me just find those really quick. So the examples that I made, go ahead and text Palmview Police to that same number. And then once you've texted Palmview Police, that should then have automatically given you that response. But you'll see that aside from giving you that contact information, you can also make a report by texting tip, or it even will provide that link that will take you right over to the police department's Facebook page, where it will also, you know, directly take you there as well. So that is one example. Another one I did also create was for Palmview online payments, and you'll see that word just right down here. And so if you were to text Palmview online payments, the response that it will then send back is one where the residents can automatically be routed to that portal where they can make their payments, whether it's, paying a bill, a citation, things like that as well. And I was also able to grab those from your city website. So one thing I just want to mention with this too is that you can also attach things like PDFs. So an example that I had done with Arnold and Mr. Leo is also the ability to have like the project manual. Because I noticed that, when you directly go to the city website, you have things like PDFs and things like that too. So you could also have those included if you wanted them to go out there. So you do have quite a bit of flexibility as far as what information you want to get sent back, and it's completely customizable. So something that we've also done with this too is we know that your residents won't always text an exact phrase. So we do have here what's called an additional trigger word. And what that does is you can have other words be associated with that same trigger word to give them that same response. So if instead of texting agenda, maybe they texted meetings or council, or, maybe they even texted that, but in Spanish, we wanted to make it so that even if you do have your Spanish speaking residents texting in or, whatever it may be, that it can still shoot back that same response. And since this is also tied to Google Chrome, if your internet settings on your phone are also in Spanish, it will also automatically translate for that for you as well. Before we jump over to the reporting side, any questions as far as that general automation there?
Not at this time.
Okay, sorry, I don't mean to keep having you stand up. So the next part of this then too is the flow setup, because obviously we know that when it comes to things like, animal control or pothole or any other concern, obviously that's something that you'd actually want to be notified about. So what we've included in here is you can create different types of reports where when you text a specific word, it will then ask them a series of questions. So in this case, I'll just use animal control since it's up here at the top. But if somebody were to text animal control, it will say, these are your texting options here. So you can text like a dead animal, a stray dog, wildlife, things like that. And then it will also ask things like the nearest address, a description of the issue, what is your name, they can upload a picture. And once that resident has gone through and answered all of those questions, our program will automatically take those responses, condense them into an email, and then automatically send that to whichever citizen, or I'm sorry, it will automatically send that to whichever staff member you would want to, basically address that specific concern. So I'll also show you that here. So if I jump over to my categories, you can see that, if I were to go to crime, for example, I put Arnold here as an example, but I can have him be the person that, anytime somebody's texting a report for the police department, this is who I want to receive that report. So this will not only track all of the information from the citizen automatically, but you'll also be able to receive that notification. So, and with this too, like I said, it will ask you a series of questions, so I won't have you go through and, do all of those there, but that kind of just gives you an idea as far as how you're able to do that. Any questions as far as that reporting capability? Okay. So, go ahead.
Any other cities around here have this program implemented already?
So I did actually pull up Seguin. I'm not sure how close they are in conjunction to Palmview, but we do have quite a few other agencies using our program, as well as smaller cities. So I'm not sure if you know of like Marion, Combs, Hazlet, Seguin. These are just some that come to mind. But essentially, we do also provide a widget for your website. So when I go to Seguin's website here, you can see that they have this little option that says you can skip a phone call and use your phone to find answers to your questions. And then it will also have that local phone number that we also purchase for you. And while we're here as well, just something I want to mention as far as any concerns with that, is that this, of course, is not going to take away the ability for your citizens to call into the office if they want to speak with a real person. But this instead will just provide an additional tool for communication, especially when, even if it's after office hours or if it's the weekend, obviously there won't be anyone there to answer the phone anyway. And so this will also be able to provide that information that they might be looking for regardless of the time of day.
One thing I would add we'll add real quick, to Mayor Pro Tem. Other cities have similar services, similar platforms. City of Mission has 311, what's called 311. As a matter of fact, one of the services that this offers, and I'm sure she's going to touch on, is like mass notification. You subscribe to the service. So somehow I'm one of those Palmview residents that still gets picked up as mission, and I got a mass notification during the hurricanes, which is a really, really, really neat feature. So yes, there's others that offer similar services, but maybe not the same vendor. But we as staff have already looked at all the options, so this is the one that we kind of put on board.
Yes, and with the mass communication, I'll also show that to you here as well. So like you said, we do have the option to be able to send out mass text messages to your citizens. So we also wanted to give you the ability to have different types of groups, because where we know that, almost everyone wants to know about emergencies, there's also other citizens where, maybe only the parents want to know about updates about, the school districts, or others want to know if there's a water main break, weather warnings, updates on COVID, those types of things too. So your residents can also opt in to any type of groups that you create. If you wanted it to just be one general city message, you can also do that as well. But we just wanted to show you, where that flexibility lies. But the way that they do that is they can just text something like, City 1 to that short code number, and then that will automatically add them to that list to receive alerts for city alerts. And then whenever I do have a message I want to get out to the public, I can just go over here to where it says group name. So in this case, I'll just select city alerts. I can put in my message. And then once I hit send, it will automatically send a text message to every single citizen that's opted in. So this has been great for emergencies as well as just general information to keep your, citizens up to date as far as this thing's going on. And you can also use this internally for staff members. So we have also seen some smaller cities use this as far as just keeping everybody on the same page. So if you ever had any changes as far as, staff meetings, if, there's a COVID outbreak, so City Hall will be closed or anything like that, you could also have different groups for that too. And I know that these capabilities are also essentially why Arnold actually reached out to me, because this is something that the city was looking for, was the mass communication. So it was just nice to be able to provide that as well as the other functions to kind of add value to, even offer more than what essentially you were looking for. But that's really what I wanted to show you as far as those three main functions. Arnold, was there anything else that you would like me to touch on a little bit more, or any other questions that kind of came out from this demonstration here?
Does this also come in app form? Like, is it an app that we can download on our phone, or is it a number we access?
So it is just the phone number. Just so that you're aware too, in our own company's history, we actually used to provide an app, but the reason that we decided to go towards texting instead is because what we had found is that, for one thing, when it comes to phone storage, if people have to choose between a government app or Facebook, they're going to keep Facebook. And we also just wanted to make it something where they don't have to download anything, as well as, something that even if somebody only has a flip phone, that they can still have access to, so it's more inclusive that way. So it is only the text messages right now. We did used to offer the app, but that's kind of why we decided to go this direction instead.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
What's the difference with what we have right now? I know we have the text, but what's the difference? The reason I'm asking is that what happens to the split?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Well, we currently don't have, so we're actually relying on just our personnel answering the phone calls. Whenever City Hall is closed, then our residents or anybody wanting to get in contact with us end up calling the police department. So there sometimes ends up being a sort of break in the sense that sometimes when we have dispatchers that are actually tied up here with police, fire, or even those other phone calls can stay on hold until they're able to come back to it. So this way, it allows for the system to just automatically respond to the we would still need to do a little bit more research as far as how to include those individuals that don't text. But in the meantime, the vast majority of our constituents are texting it, and on our Facebook page, one of the main things that people have been requesting is to have the functionality to upload pictures and send something that we can see. So for that, yes. As a matter of fact, in the demonstration that Nancy was making, one of the extended, I think she shortened it up a little bit, but one of the extended things is the fact that individuals are able to send these photographs at that precise moment. So all of that will be timestamped, and the system itself does create a history for us to be able to go through it. Now, they did recently add analytics to it, so they can actually tell you which department is getting the most use out of this application, or rather this software system. And we can actually see where it is that we can place more emphasis on. So as a matter of fact, as far as cost is concerned, it is a relatively low cost option. But it does give us a lot of functionality for
The only, before we talk about the cost and all that, one of the things that I'm a little concerned, and it has nothing to do with the service. It has something to do with the fact that we cannot stay in touch with the community. A lot of times when you call, like you call the animated, and by the time you get to the real person, it's like, yeah, you're already mad. You know?
I agree. No. I do want to. I mean, go ahead.
It's a weekend. Who's gonna get that check first?
Depending on how the route system is set up, if it's a dog issue, it'll go to
How
Alan.
long is it gonna take for us to respond or reply to make contact with that person?
It'll be automatic, but the question is gonna be, when can they respond to the actual location, for example?
I guess I'm gonna agree with you. Because I like the person call, you know, and I would like the system that we have. When we call, we go on to another person, When you call them, you want to talk to them. You know, we're gonna have.
Okay, well, that's my thing going, and that's right, and you're right, I'm all for sure. But I'm saying, whoever gets it, and that person automatically gets to call that person back. Instead of replying back.
Did you do that?
That will be awesome.
Yes.
Well, see, don't lose touch with the person.
This is, I think this is important. This is not meant to replace what we have. So the person that doesn't text or is not comfortable with text, they can still pick up the phone and dial our number.
And how we have it.
That's not gonna change. That's not gonna
Well,
change.
how we let people know we have the number?
now it's purchased through Text My Gov, but it'll be earned. Now, one of the things is that also the majority of the employees do have, we did switch over to a different cell phone carrier. So a lot of our employees do have a city device. Now it can be set to where the notification is also sent to that device, and all they have to do is just keep an eye on their device. As far as the employees,
Are you gonna have somebody on call?
we can now, but that would be entirely up to
You guys
you.
are bringing the PD from maintenance, from.
Yes, we can. Yes, every city department does that by itself, right? Yeah, once if approved, we will sit down with Nancy and she'll help us set, or her team will help us set it up. And each one, like for example, we will be able to set, certain individual in charge of just certain individuals just in charge of this. So we are able to divide it into different sections. So if the planning department has something in specific that they are working on, they can add it themselves. They don't have to wait for me to do it. They don't have to wait for somebody.
I have a, so I see planning department, Saturday, Sunday, they're closed, right? So that part of the system will probably, we're closed from 8 to 5 or from Saturday to Sunday, call again. That's how that system's gonna answer, or whatever, right, or leave a message. And then fire department or police, that's 24/7. So if I call on a Sunday at 3 o'clock, it's gonna take me to, a different, I will be able to make contact with somebody. If it's an emergency, press 1. If it's a whatever, press 2. If it's a press 3. So I can see where fire department or fire or police, it will be connect us with somebody on a Saturday or a Sunday. But per se, like, I owe a ticket
Every department will have the auto response set. Yeah, every department will have the auto response set. So they can respond. Our offices are closed. Your information has been forwarded to the pertinent individual. We will reach out to you Monday. Monday after.
And that's what we would reach out to you. How far is that reach out? Because
That's gonna be up to us.
Yeah, that's gonna be
we're gonna have to make the effort to reach out because we need to establish the belief of the people saying, hey, they call me back.
Yeah,
We
because
respond.
they're gonna expect them back. That's it, they're gonna expect someone to call back.
Yeah, correct.
So,
It's also Spanish.
question or no?
Yes, I did verify that it was in Spanish, and I did sit with Nancy and go through the whole Spanish. But the Spanish will be basically up to us.
What I like about this is the alerts.
Yeah.
That would be, right now that we're living in this pandemic, we could send out COVID alerts.
Yeah.
And to every citizen.
That was the main reason. That was the main reason for looking out for a system like this because of the hurricane that did come around, and plus the pandemic.
Or events that.
What about, they mentioned emergency call, what about getting fake phone, getting bogus phone, getting, people just
Forcing around.
forcing around there.
Well, if the keywords are not in the system will it'll just give them a generic response.
Call for alarm or something.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we did make sure of. We do need to clarify, like with the auto attendant, is that we need to make sure that people understand that emergency calls do definitely go.
No, but what about the bogus call? How the people going around the person? Oh, this part over here.
Well, they will be advised on our end on the emergency services. They will be advised. You have already call either the business line or 911.
So in other words, all the calls that are coming in, that's supposed to be already ahead. So all the calls that are coming in are gonna.
No, they have to check.
This is another option.
It's another option. It's another communication option.
That number that text.
Anybody else again, still call their name.
Also, it's gonna phone call, it's only a text.
Yeah, it's a text.
That's to alleviate the phone calls that we get. And I would add again, if it's an emergency, whoever responsibility, you need to call, hang up and dial 911. But as far as bonus reports, keep in mind, they're doing it from a phone, so we're gonna have a phone number. So we're gonna
We can
trace it, we're gonna find it.
Here's another.
Now, additionally, we did when we were reviewing this system, we did take into consideration the fact that there are times when people need to report certain things. Now, I did sit in comments for a while to review how they were before. I mean, basically doing my job duties, I was looking at what they were doing, and at the same time, it reduces the amount of time that we actually need to spend on the phone. It doesn't replace the phone call. At no time will it replace the phone call. But it does provide us another avenue to be able to communicate simultaneously.
So we need to, how are we going to educate, another thing, how are we going to educate stop the calling and calling, even,
This is another
It's just an option.
It's just
Not really.
it's another
It's
option.
gonna take time to establish that mindset.
So it's
Just like when we switched phone numbers from the 581-7416 to the 956-432-0303, as far as the police department is concerned. It did take a little bit of time, but once it did, it's gonna be very dependent on us, the employees, to be able to communicate it to the public.
We don't have a cost.
I'm sorry?
Cost.
A cost issue.
Now we're going to the, and before I go into cost, because I got these phone calls from each of you one time or another about our automated system, and that in itself is frustrating. We've had a lot of discussions with staff on that. We came really close to scrapping and going back to the way it was. But in fairness, and that's ideal. Everyone would love to talk to their live person, right? You can call somewhere, but there's a reason that these systems are in place. That's efficiency. If you talk to the girls up front, in fairness to them, if every call rang, the phones would just go off the hook. And we are going to have a workshop where we want to talk about staffing and personnel levels and things like that. I think that would be a good opportunity to talk about something like that. If we had a dedicated person to just answer phones, that'd be great. But we don't have the resources right now to be quite honest.
We don't have the resources to get up though. So
We have to hire a person, create a position, and invest in a system of some kind.
I'm pretty sure the system is awesome. The thing is just it's not all done. So
those are on time.
All
On time.
on somebody to respond.
Yeah.
Like once they send that text, then they say,
I'll call them
there's huge
later.
potholes and, like, tires and stuff, it's gonna fix this.
If the system will be set, so that goes to, let's say, Rudy or George, for example, then it's gonna be incumbent on that person, oh, so I have a
So they
report.
receive that
And
text.
yeah, then we can make an appointment, airport them said, they'll call you and make, you know what, I got the report online, on George, I'm gonna be working your report, rest assured, we'll be there within the next 24 to 48 hours.
And you plan how we can, organize. They came in, got 10 pictures or 10 requests today, and then they're gonna have to organize.
If they
them.
monitor that,
To-
no, they will be sent out. They will be sent out, so we will just prioritize as they come. And now if something, more priority, then we can, as
Yeah, of
employees,
course.
we can say, you know what, let's take this one out, put it at the top, because, something worse could happen.
Yeah,
Like, for
or
example, the Caden.
Can you monitor that if Rudy's department is taking care of those calls, or is there a possibility to monitor that?
The dashboard would be the great way to monitor any of us, if the department heads go in there, see what the calls are coming in, see what the reports are being, what kind of things are we getting, or response time and all that. They got them in from the point that this report was initiated to a point it was closed down by an employee or whoever responded to it.
I guess all I'm saying is, I don't want people, our place to take back. I just wanted to call.
Yeah, it's all automated, and once it gets to the person, yeah, it's gonna be a phone call.
Something to consider is, when you call a bank or whatever, and they say this number, this number, this number, this number, and then again, you can talk to somebody, press zero.
Well, we are trying to move that out, even as on behalf of the employees, we are trying to move that out, because, we had never come on with the Palmview. So, I'm not for it, but the majority of the employees feel comfortable with it. So we've got to figure out exactly a way to work with it and make it. Now we are looking at other things, as far as, like, for example, we queue on our phone system so that we don't actually lose calls. They're sitting in a queue. That's not particularly the fan favorite option, but it's something that can assist us with it. But I mean, as far as the organization is concerned, we are looking at other possibilities. But this one would provide an immediate response to the majority of the concerns of the constituents, which is mainly to have something where they can report real-time pictures. Because one of the things, as I mentioned, that I was sitting in front of, is that they'll be sitting on the phone with, let's say, for example, we got permit or planning, and they're calling to report a straight out or a pocket. Then the person wants to send in pictures. Well, Monica still has to take the time to provide them the email. Then the person has to email them the pictures, and then Monica has to receive the pictures. If she didn't, for whatever reason, didn't receive the pictures, then there's that break in communication. And this way, it assures that we get the media that the public wants to share with us, so that we can share it.
One of the things that I like, I know in the 311, when they report, the same example I said earlier about the trouble, is once it gets done, once it gets fixed, they take a picture and they send it back to the person.
We can, as
Just to show.
the system does provide that functionality where we can reverse reply as far as the person itself that took care of the situation, they can take a picture and they can send back that constituent picture to make sure that it is actually taken care of.
And I think this will work more like for your little dog, little dumping.
Yeah.
Like for permits,
Reporting
people are gonna call, because you know what, I want to talk to somebody.
Well,
Yeah,
for permits,
I think it's
for permits, the functionality will be limited. For example, we can actually put all of our forms in PDF form on the website. So if the person needs to, let's say, for example, I'm trying to go very basic here, if they need a garage sale permit, but they still need to fill out a form, they can always text garage sale, because we can set up the system to where it sends them the link to where that PDF is located. Download it, print it, fill it out, bring it in, pay. And that'll reduce the amount of time that person spends standing at the window, to complete their transaction.
So that will take time to.
Yeah, and that'll free up that little bit of time that is freed up, that can be dedicated to action or take the.
Yeah, I assume there's a contract.
And I'll give you the correct.
Yeah,
As far as
now let's talk about the money.
as far as thanks, sir. As far as the fees are concerned, the package price that they're offering is $2,300 a year. So what is that, about 200 a month? There is a $500 implementation setup fee. So the first year's 2,800, but thereafter 2,300 a year. So about a little less than 200 a month.
And so this does with the contract.
Yeah. Anytime.
That's it, man.
But Nancy, did you hear that question? Are you able to respond to that?
The reason I'm asking is because we see that communities are responding, it's working. And I mean, it's innovative, I like that.
Well,
Yeah, I like it. But,
I think I believe it's a mindset that people have to get used to it. Like, for example, I don't know if you have been in the phone when it says, we'll call you and whenever you're next on, I don't want to hang up because I don't want anything to call you back. Recently, I said, you know what, these people call me back. So I hung up and then they call me back. But it's something that we really know. Well, that's what they said, right? So that's something that we gotta need to take time to evaluate. But I don't know how you all feel. I think a year, I don't know, what's the contract for?
It's a year. According to the notes, well, the pricing is annually, but it's a 2-year contract. After the initial 2 years, the contract can be canceled by providing 60-day written notice. And after the 2 years, it can be reverted, go to year to year.
Okay, so in other words, we have 2 years, $4,000. It's still not a lot. We're kind of experiment with this. We're gonna take your what is it, your recommendation that you see? We've seen a little bit more than that, right?
I think department head, we had a similar meeting just like this with all department heads, and they went, when we tried, me and Lieutenant tried to convey to them how it worked, they were like, oh, I don't know, it might just do this, it might just do that. Well, they had their opportunity to see it and see firsthand how it affects their specific departments, their respective departments. They really bought into it. I think that we all feel generally that hopefully this is gonna alleviate call volume. And if it does just alleviate a little bit, then it served its purpose.
It takes $4,000 to find out, people in Palmview are gonna change their mindsets to do this. Are we gonna see an increase in volume in their services? And if the answer is by the year and a half, yes. If it's a year and a half, no. But you know what we're doing. Right? But if it says yes, then we proceed year to year basis, right?
Right. And if it alleviates call volume, then it'd be a lot easier for us to go back to a live person as opposed to the automated system. But if we try to do that right now, then there'd be some challenge.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second that.
Mayor, I say the subject to the final review.
Pending legal review on the contract recommended by.
Questions? All in favor?
Oh, sorry. Was that a question for me? I couldn't hear you right there.
We were just clarifying on the contractual terms, according to the notes on your fee proposal, it's a 2-year contract, and then it goes annual after that, and we can cancel after the 2 years with the 60-day notice. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we do have an initial 2-year term. And then from that point, it goes to a year unless you cancel. We do ask that you keep, hang on, sorry, I just gotta. So we do also ask that you give us a 60-day heads up, just so that we can get all of your data back over to you in a consumable file. But yes, you can cancel at any time after that initial 2 years. And as well on that too, we did also include additional storage on the agreement. Typically we have it at 10 gigs for the downloadable files, as far as like if they're sending in pictures and things like that. And we did agree to increase that to 100 gigs instead at the same price.
Yes, additional to that, I believe, it was the additional text messages, correct, Nancy?
I'd have to look at the agreement, but that does sound, I think we did talk about that too, yeah.
I believe they doubled the amount of text messages that we can handle. And increase the storage size, and I believe it was also the weighting of the feet.
Well, it was last.
Oh, that, okay.
Okay, so, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy. You can go ahead and disconnect and we'll be in
Thank you,
contact
Rob,
shortly.
for getting back to her, right?
Yes. Wow.
Appreciate you. Looking forward to working.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if you have any additional questions. I'll go ahead and hop off. Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 8A, update on COVID-19. Mr. Leo, you have the floor.
Just briefly, we know again, cases have ticked up. This week, Monday, yesterday was the first day that we started our league. We're being conscious of the cases that are increasing, and we are proceeding with caution. The league, there's games going on right now. Again, we're saying some of the limitations that we have as far as players not in the dugout, actually players sitting in the stands. Family members do not sit in the stands. Nobody's allowed to sit in the stands. You have to bring your own chairs or you stand up. Again, we're limiting everything. We're watching everything. We have staff on site, make sure that we're sanitizing. Cases, again, 1,100 cases just yesterday alone. Hospitalization 400. And we don't have the vaccine. It's still, people are still waiting to get the vaccine, so there's hope for the future. But again, we are proceeding with caution.
All right. Any other questions? All right, item 8B, discussion possible action to engage an independent auditor for the city annual finance report.
Mayor, if I may, from our last meeting, we talked about those packets that we got. Those should have been delivered to everyone here for review. In your packet, you have a review or a summary of the three firms. It was Carl Riggs and Ingram, Adrian Webb, and then Luis Orozco. We really looked at Mr. Luis Orozco the most because he has a unique experience with handling our audits in the past. His fee is competitive. We have the sufficient for the budget. So again, it's up to the council, but if you have any questions on the summary, or we can make a selection at this time.
I want to make a motion, Roscoe, based on the recommendations of the staff here. And the competitive prices are there. They do service the each service before and done a great job. So I make a motion for.
Second.
There are a motion, I got a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 8C, discussion and possible action on legislative agenda for the city of Palmview.
Mayor, if I may, we're going to keep this brief as well. We are in legislative session every 2 years. 2 years ago, the council adopted an actual agenda where with certain things that we wanted to see pushed forward in legislative, and we were then working with our local representatives, our local delegates, state reps, and our senators. So for this year, what we want to do first is just have Mr. Eric Flores, as part of the services he provides with the city, now give us legislative updates. So he has some bills of interest that we want to watch. As usual, a lot of bills get filed, and a vast majority of those bills don't even make it to the court, so they don't go anywhere. So we don't, as much as we try to watch them all, we want to be very cautious of the ones that are actually making movement, or the ones that the governor is pushing, or the party is pushing. Usually those have to do with appraisal tax. Last year they had a 3.5% growth as far as how high you can go on your tax rate. There was annexation, limitations on annexation. Those have really had an impact on cities as well. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Flores here so he can just kind of your culture on some of the topics of interest.
Mayor, City Council, good evening. As Mr. Leo said, one of the services that we provide in the city of Palmview is a legislative update each month. In the packet before you all, we have our top 10 from November to January. However, there have been 17 other bills that have been filed in the month of January now. So I'm going to top 5 really quick for you tonight. Number 1 being Senate Bill 402, which was filed by Senator Johnson. This one particularly for us strikes home because it's a street maintenance sales tax. So essentially what they're going to do is they'll make an amendment to the tax code, which is section 327.007, and it'll allow municipalities for up to a certain amount of years, I think it's up to 4 years, move that sales tax for street maintenance. So that would be a great help to us if that bill actually came to fruition. So that's the first bill for you all tonight. The second one is HB 906. This can be found in the last 17 bills. I noticed you all, this was filed by Representative Krause. And this is very particular for COVID right now. So we see some municipalities putting forward emergency orders restricting certain businesses. As you all heard, or may have heard, Governor Abbott yesterday stated his state address. That is one of his intents, is that municipalities can no longer restrict businesses, so we cannot pass any sort of emergency orders if this were to happen. So that's the second one. Hopefully we'll be out of the pandemic and don't have to worry about that. That'd be great as well. The third one is going to be HB 1179. No, they're kind of out of order.
Okay.
So this one for us would be for the polling places. Right now, we have a 100-foot marker doesn't allow any election area. If this bill were to go through, which is brought by Representative Pacheco, it would limit it to 300 feet, actually extend it 300 feet, so a little bit further. Right now, we're used to 100. It would go up to 300. So if that comes, if you see that bill, go to the governor for signature, it'll be up to 300 feet. Now the next one will be Senate Bill 219. This is number 8. It's actually number, if you shoot down the third page. So this will be for professional services, really going towards architects and engineers. Essentially, if they were, for example, build us a new city hall, this bill says that we can't hold them liable for any defects. That'd be, something that's not good for any municipality or anybody contracting their service. You see that? Not good. Can't hold them liable. No bueno. So the next one, the last and final one for tonight, as well, there's many others in the package. HB 1089, again going towards governmental liability. I kind of grown a favorite niche here with this. Last month, I published, myself and my law partner published something in the State Bar Journal in regards to governmental liability. So now we're seeing a bill in regards to that. So right now, any of the employees of the municipality, there's a good argument that we cannot be held liable for something that happens in the course of employment, right? We maintain our immunity. However, with this bill, we essentially remove a lot of the governmental immunity. We can hold the municipality liable for the so also a big a red flag for us. We want to try to keep that, that blanket of protection. So if y'all have any questions at all about the legislators on states, I'll be providing it to the city every month, and especially ones that really impact the city.
I don't have one question, but I do have a concern or a comment. It seems like our governor is limiting our authority here in our own city, and that is concerning to me because if anybody knows their municipality better than anybody, it's elected officials in that municipality. So I'm not in favor of what Governor Abbott is doing, and of course that's just my opinion.
What I would suggest is we don't take action today. Take this packet here home so you can read it with all of them. Look at the bills of interest, mark them, and then as a whole, as a body, we at our next meeting, we can say, you know what, we want to support SB 42 or 1210 or this or that, or we want to voice our opposition to this bill or that bill. So get familiar with it. So there's common ones, and that one's a real common one where cities actually unite to say that pass a joint resolution in opposition of, last time it was Senate Bill 2, the big tax reform bill. You can put a lot of limitations on cities.
Well, I think the difference, Mayor Pro Tem, would be that we would be putting on the record, and I'll use an example of today. Today, I drafted a letter, myself and Mr. Rio put together a letter to send it to the congressional delegation in South Texas, stating that under the Biden administration, if there's federal funds, we want this federal fund. So we're essentially going on the record publicly stating, hey, we want this more money. And with these legislative items, we're going on the record to let our, delegation, know, we're against these bills because X, Y, Z. Instead of if we don't say anything, well then, we're really not getting a chance to dictate that.
The one item of interest that we took last time was there was a bill for economic development corporation that had a certain funding mechanism. It was the Texas Economic Development Bank. And this bill was catered to economic development corporations A and B. And City of Palmview, when I first started, we said, wait a minute, we have a municipal development district and we want to tap into that same kind of financing that same fund. So our legislative position, our agenda to our local delegates was we're asking for legislation to amend that bill to apply to MDBs as well. So those are kind of the positions that we take. We had a discussion with the local representative for the Texas Governor's Office, Mrs. Murat, because we talked about that. So she's going to be helping us as well, pushing that, make sure that we get equal representation with MDBs. And if anything, that's good, would be open to
So the recommendation or the action would be to, on recommendation, by
No
legal
action.
administration. Correct.
Right, take this home, look at it, and then mark your bills of
We're
interest.
gonna table this for the next week. Make a motion to table it.
Okay, so we're gonna table the item and come back at the next meeting. Am I okay by saying this? Do we agree? We're gonna come back to the next meeting with bills that we want to support or not support unanimously and move forward with them. Okay, so I have a motion.
Mayor, that really quick, that bill that Mr. Leo just touched on, we're actually going to see it now on that first page of that, update that you got 539, so we're seeing it again. And we could ask.
Okay, so do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Ramirez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. We already discussed that question. Item 8D, discussion of possible action regarding the joint committee between the city of Palmview and our
Mayor, by the way, last week, Awasud reached out to us, and we used to have a working committee where we would meet on topics of interest working together. And so we had a meeting last week, and because we hadn't updated our Awasud committee, we had a working committee. And then back in February of 2019, we had appointed staff as well as representatives from the council, which was Commissioner Sarabia. So for this particular meeting we had, we invited Mr. Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, and then Ms. Alejandra Flores presented as well. So we had the meeting. So two things we want to do on this item. First, we want to brief the entire council on how that meeting went and some of the feedback. So with that, I would encourage you, either Mayor Pro Tem, if you want to share with the council some of the things the takeaways from that.
Yes, first of all, it was extremely positive. And what we realized is that during the situation we are in, as far as getting those phone calls and complaints but they were trying extremely hard to get those people connected. And on the south side, they're having a little bit more of flexibility and more people connected. They have some problems at the north side. However, based on the positive relationship that we're having, we're seeing little things. For example, we talked about the roads in Minnesota, about the crossovers that they were first saying that they were not going to fix. Well, they ended up fixing those. They're going to fix also Benson, crossover. They're going to prep. By Ivy Reina, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to prep it and we're going to pave it. And supposedly, there's been some situations here on 495 that they're getting water from the pipe. If there's a problem with those that they need to dig and fix that issue, they're going to repair it because we're going to pave it. We want to pave it because the community wants those things fixed. And if they damage it again for these people, they're going to be responsible to pave it once they finish. So,
Well, I found either cracks or leaks or
they're going to be leaks. We might pay before, but if they have to go in and they're going to do it, but they're going to fix it themselves. Because we can only fix it one time.
But we had agreed on that, last year, we talked about that when we paid.
Yes, yeah, for example, when we paid all of this,
And I talked to Roy Goya, the former president, and they had agreed to pay those Minnesota roads. I don't know if they changed their mind or.
There was an issue, yes, Mr. Garcia, I think, and they had told us no, right?
Yes.
And
When we say no, not our side, it was the contract, actually, no, not even the contract, the surety company. Yeah, it took over sure.
But I remember the way mentioned that, they were like backing out, but they were gonna keep their.
And that's what ended up happening. Now I had to step up and pay out of pocket. They paid out of pocket for that crossover. They're going to pay out of pocket for the construction work in front of you. The reality would have been responsible for the surety.
One of the concerns with that has been coming up lately is some of our constituents septic systems are trying to fail. So I get a phone call asking me when are they going to connect. If they don't want to make that expense, if they're going to connect in a month or two. And I can see their concern. It is very expensive to fix a septic system. So, that's one of the things that our constituents and our residents are struggling with right now, and it's a fair concern.
Actually, we had similar concerns.
yeah, we have a system that we have to move it into a checklist because what about if some people want to build already?
Right.
And are they going to put septic tanks that's what it was, right? They have to clear it out first themselves, and then come to us.
The developer, when you say, well, where the construction.
And then they're going to explain to them what the situation is. Right. And then make the decision that the person in the area is going to make the decision. Do I want to make this expense or do I wait?
Right. There is some flexibility, like if it's on the south side where the system is complete and there's a situation like that, we can make a request that they can go and specifically go to this one specific address and make that connection. The challenge is if it's on the north side where the sewer is not even ready, and it's gonna call the property owner, do I make this investment or do I wait? And we had a few of those on the new construction side last year, they were like, oh, do I wait? It's 1 month away, where am I gonna put the septic? But they would have to wait, and in some cases, they could not wait, they had to bear the expense of the septic, only to hook up to sewer, 2 months later. And we had a few of those, and we worked with them because we're trying to get a reimbursement for that empty lot connection, because obviously that was an empty lot, it was just construction. So we'll work with them on the payments for that, if there's anything that we can do on our end, the rest of just, follow that one.
Or you that page over there for the UP.
That's the big one.
That's the main one.
Yeah, they're prepping it. When they're prepping it, it's those steep way, they're gonna be prepping it, and then we're gonna patch it up, and hopefully they don't have to dig and fix those leaks. That's what's gonna.
Okay, so what are we taking action on?
The action would be, now that's just an update, but the action would be on the committee because the current representation was previous council member Ms. Sarabia. We need the council to take official action on who do you want to represent. And then we can have one alternate.
I would.
You already had it, right?
Either I would understand or the younger ones, that aren't involved in anything else.
Are you sure?
Go ahead.
Okay. I want to say that I also learned something at this meeting because I was unaware that this only pertains to certain areas of Palmview. I did not know it was only for specific areas. And when I found that out,
We did something a little bit important that remember the $6 million that we got from the state. They used only 3 million, and the additional 3 million are going to be hopefully extend the sewer to other areas. And also the lift station that we talked about, the lift station that they still haven't installed. They're going to give us a demographic where would be the best place possible to place it and expand to other areas, to other more houses. So that was an important issue that they're still working on that.
they mentioned something about it, the areas having to pass some inspection environment.
Right, they have the environmental clearance. And it seems like most of the area has the environmental clearance.
Good money left over. Yeah, there's good money left over.
And in reality, that money was for AWA, but they're doing really good in including us in this conversation and making recommendations. And the lift station was one that we turned over to them on the NDB side that they agreed to work with us on where we want to place it. So we're going to be strategic of where we want to place. Yeah, the original boundaries are really kind of like the old Palmview. So a lot of the newer annexed areas did not get sewer. Anything north of 495 pretty much did not get sewer.
Okay, so this is not an action.
On the committee, it is. And for the record, the council previously approved appoint myself, City Attorney Eric Flores, and Planning Director Reed Flores on staff. So we just needed representation from the council.
All right, so who did we decide on? Mr. Garcia nominated Pro Tem, and the sub is gonna be, we'll keep it with you, Matt?
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so move.
There's a motion. Second, I heard you want to take the second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody disagree? Carried. Item 8E, discussion and possible action on update the salary schedule and any other related personnel positions therein associated with such, including amendment to 2020-21 budget.
Mayor, if I may, for items E and F, you may want to have a discussion in executive session related to
All right, so
personnel.
do I have a motion?
Second. A, E, and F.
I have a motion and a second by Mr. Marcelo. Questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed?
Mr. Mayor, just for the record, these will be going into executive session, exceptions to 551, 551, 551, respectively.
All right, so do I have a motion to go into executive session? Second. I have a motion by, get those in that, Commissioner Gonzalo, second by, 7:10. Okay, questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Just for those two items, and
Yes, yeah. Yes, I have, okay.
now we're going to.
Oh, on 9A8, okay, so we are going into executive session. Do I have a motion? So entertain a motion for items E and F in executive session. I have a motion by Commissioner Ramirez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Questions? Hey, on this, by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. 7:10, we are now going into executive session. Now, out of executive session, 8:31. Flores, you got a little rundown for us?
Yes, sir, Mayor. So on item E, I asked the council to entertain a motion not to take any action this time.
Motion, second. Questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Mayor, on item F, I asked the council to entertain a motion as discussed in executive session.
Second. Commissioner Garcia's motion, Commissioner Mancero second on item, we said F.
The next item we'll take up, Mayor, is item B, 9B. This will also be as discussed in executive session.
Okay, so can we run both of them together?
A, we discussed.
Yeah,
No,
A was discussed.
I had a motion and a second, all in favor, questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, and then go ahead. On that
That was the last, that was it?
Okay, so we did them both together.
Correct, the other one we didn't touch at all.
Yeah. Excuse me?
So the item that you're talking about, Mayor, is not item 9A. We didn't touch that one at all. So
We made a motion and second, we agreed on B. B, 90, and E, F. Right. Okay, all of those, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. 8:33.
All right. Thank you. You have a good night.